Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness.
Hey, welcome to the Men Talking Mindfulness podcast, where we explore the transformative power of mindfulness in the real world. I'm one of your hosts, John McCaskill, a retired Navy SEAL and mindfulness meditation teacher. And I'm joined by my brother from another mother, renowned New York City yoga instructor and mindfulness teacher, Will Schneider. Today, we have an extraordinary guest, Luke Hartelust. And I want to make sure I emphasize that lust, right?
I know, I love that part of his name.
CEO of Manly. Luke's journey from an oil rig worker in Western Australia to a trailblazing entrepreneur in the health sector in Southern California is not just inspiring, but a testament to the power of resilience and vision. In this episode, we're going to dive into Luke's incredible story of transformation, discuss the groundbreaking work he's doing in men's health and AI technology, which at first glance, they don't really sound like they go together, but wait till you hear what he's doing. I'm going to explore the importance of mindfulness in achieving personal and professional success. Whether you're facing your own crossroads in life or interested in the innovative intersection of health and technology, this conversation promises to be both enlightening and motivating. But before we get started, I want to say hi to my co-host, Will, and give him an opportunity to say hello to you all. Will, brother, how are you, man?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Luke, thanks for joining us. It's great to be back for our fourth episode of season number 8. So, we're getting deeper, and it's so great to have Luke here today. So hey, we have merch out there. Get your Men Talking Mindfulness merch at mentalkingmindfulness.com/shop. We have coffee, mugs. We have shirts, hats, tumblers. John's rocking. No, not a hat today.
I'm rocking the shirt.
He's rocking a shirt today. There you go. It's an embroidered shirt over there. And
right.
And Luke, we're going to send you one as a thank you for being on our show today. So thanks for supporting that when you get out there. Hey, so we have a retreat coming up. Our third retreat. It's called Be Well to Lead Well. That's going to be May 16th and 19th at a castle. It's Glen Eyrie Castle in Colorado Springs. This is going to be an intersection between mindfulness and leadership. We only have 10 spots left, so don't miss out. You can sign up at mentalkingmindfulness.com/retreat, or you can get more information if you text us at 33777 and just text Be Well, the letter B, W-E-L-L, to 33777 for more information. And also, hey, John and I both do keynote speaking engagements and mindfulness and wellness workshops. If you're interested in having one of us speak, speaker, the both of us putting on a workshop for your team together, please reach out to us. You can email us at team@mentalkingmindfulness.com. And hey, lastly, thank you and subscribe to our TikTok, to our Instagram, to our YouTube, and you can find us all at Men Talking Mindfulness, whatever social platform that you choose to use, and find us at Men Talking Mindfulness. And once again, always, thank you for being here, for tuning in, for sharing our podcast, for helping us grow and becoming more mindful. We're going to jump in just a second. Luke, what we like to do in order to kind of calm our energy down and kind of really access more of our potential, we do a 5-breath opening practice just to help to ground us. So get ready, everybody. Eyes open, eyes closed, your choice. Just 5 big breaths in, easy breaths out. That's all we're going to do. We start with a nice big exhale. Let it go and melt and feel yourself a little more present in this moment, and take that first inhale. How about 4 seconds? 3, 2, 1, and exhale out the mouth like you're blowing out a candle. And see if you can relax and melt and be a little more present on those exhales. Again, in for 4. Big belly, deep breath. Out, easy. Couple more. Fill with a big, beautiful breath. Expanding like a giant balloon. Exhaling, balloon goes away. Mind and body is naturally relaxing as we take these breaths. 2 more in. Let it go. One more in. Let that go, everybody. And open those eyes, make some movements if you like, and let's jump in. Luke, thank you for being here. Let's just go right in. And can you share with us, the moment that you decided? You have a really great, compelling story that I really enjoyed researching and reading and overcoming all these different triumphs to get where you are today. So you can share with us, first, the moment you decided to leave your job on the oil rig and embark on a completely different path, and also what drove this kind of significant and life-altering change.
Wow, and that is a loaded question.
Yes, we don't fuck around. We go right in.
Great intro, man. I'm very excited to be here and connect with you, gentlemen, and hopefully add some value to the audience today. So, for about 6 years, I was on and off. I was on and off in between mine sites and on the oil rigs in the resource industry, out of the west coast of Australia. So I actually started my career in resources doing underground diamond drilling. So we're a few miles, as you guys would say, underground, and we're actually diamond drilling for gold. So if you look up and you Google the occupation, diamond drilling, and the diamond driller's offsider or roughneck, it will come up as one of the top 3 worst occupations in the world. That was a few years ago, so I'm not sure where it kind of ranks now. But it was tough. It was a very, very tough, very physically demanding gig, and it taught me a lot of discipline and resilience, and it taught me a lot about hard work, and especially mental resilience in that capacity. It was extremely unpleasant, and you were kind of, the working environment was very, I'm not going to say it was a depressing working environment, but it was a lot of the individuals and co-workers were extremely unhappy with what they were doing as a profession. However, I was young, making great money because it pays well. Otherwise, no one would do that kind of work, right?
Sure.
And so I moved from underground diamond drilling to surface blasting, which is shot firing, which is basically lining up the explosives on the pit to blow the dirt so the diggers can dig, which was a much better position and role. But you're working 12, 13 hours a day. We were clocking at about 57 degrees Celsius on the shot, which I believe is about 125-ish degrees. And you're only taking 2 breaks. So I'm not sitting there in a pool chair with my shirt off getting a tan. We're working for 12 hours in that. And it took, again, like a lot of tenacity, so to speak, to show up every day for sometimes 4 weeks straight with only a couple of days off, and just continue to push through. And I would do a swing. Sometimes I'd do 6 weeks on, 1 week off. Sometimes I'd do, 4 weeks on, 1 week off. But for the most part, it was 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And then I moved from surface mines to offshore, which was a better roster, right? And it was 28 days on the oil rig, 28 days off. During my time off, I was single, and I was getting paid decent money for the oil rig, so I would live in Thailand, actually.
Oh wow!
And I was living in this one place called Shillong in Phuket. And if you've been to Shillong in Phuket, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's a haven for Muay Thai, kickboxing, CrossFit, strength and conditioning, bodybuilding. And it's really become a metropolis for people to come all around the world on fitness retreats, or to train professionally during off season for fights and things like that. It's a very, very unique place. Still to this day, one of the most motivating places I've ever been in my life. And I spent about 2 years living there on my off swings. And I fell in love with strength and conditioning. I've trained my entire life. Like, I started training early teens. I played rugby all through my teens, and I started at 8 years old as well. So I was always an athlete, but falling in love with the personal training and the strength and conditioning component, where it was more predicated on a community, was just something that I saw myself being able to dive into. And, life on the rigs was tough. It was, again, it was 12, 13-hour days. It was hot. And I wasn't a stranger to hard work. And again, it paid really well, and it enabled me to travel the world at the same time. But I remember the moment. It's funny you say, can you tell us about the moment? Because I literally remember the pinpoint moment where I decided I needed to change my career. And I was standing on the drill floor, covered in shit, like just covered in shit one day. And I think I was 11 hours in. I was about 22 days into my swing. And I realized, I was like, why am I unhappy in this job? Right? Why have I changed?
Why am I so unhappy?
I can't imagine either.
Yeah. And just to preface the understanding and the context there, I had a career path that I was following for and moving up the ladder, essentially the corporate mining political ladder that is out in resources, and going into subsea engineering was my vision, right? And so I had made a few steps toward that in a short, year or so that I was out there at this point as well. And it was all kind of moving towards the right direction for me. But I was unhappy. I was extremely unhappy. And I was looking at just doing some reflection, randomly daydreaming, I suppose. And I realized it really just hit me when I thought about it at that moment for some reason. And I had been thinking about this for my entire life. And I'm like, why am I unhappy in this situation? And why have I been through so many different professions, even in just this industry, right? And it clicked, and I was like, I don't want to work for anyone, right? I want to work for myself. I want to build something for myself, and I want to build something that I'm excited about, and that I can also bring people along that journey with me and build a team and a network and a community that surrounds this idea. And it was literally that moment, and I'm standing on the drill floor, and I'm like, that's fucking it. That's it. I know what I need to do now. It's like I'm going to, because I was making decent money, I was like, but I had zero business experience. I left school at 16 to go and start a trade. And so I had zero experience. But my parents are small business owners. They've been entrepreneurs their whole life as well. And so I had a decent understanding of kind of the basics from learning from my dad and my mom. So I was like, I need to go and develop the skill sets and the person that can invest and build and scale companies. And what I was really interested in and passionate about was the fitness component and the fitness vertical. And I saw one of the gyms that I was training at, and this is a long-winded explanation, boys. So
no, this is great.
No. We love the story, man. Keep going. We love the story. Yeah.
Great. So I saw one of the gyms I was training at, I'll give them a little plug because they did a phenomenal job, and it was Unit 27. And I watched that place explode in Thailand, and they built such a phenomenal community that even if their workouts weren't to the quality and the level that they actually were, you would still get so much benefit from going to this place. Just the facility, the people that were in it, what they were doing. And that was the component I fell in love with. And I was like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's open a facility and a gym in Thailand. Because that's where my heart was at the time. And one of my best mates, who ended up being my business partner, was also living there on the same street and coaching at that actual gym as well. And so being naive, extremely naive, and being my first company, and thinking that it would be an easier journey or an easier endeavor to do overseas rather than in my backyard. We decided to open a heated hot yoga /HIIT facility on the same street where all of the buzz was happening. Essentially, we saw a gap in the market. We knew that all of these professional fighters, these professional athletes, or even just the everyday gym goers were going to a hot yoga facility that was actually about a 15-minute drive from where everyone was training. So we saw a gap in the marketplace, and we actually leased a block of land, sat with an architect, developed and designed a beautiful studio. It was gorgeous from the ground up, which was also a great learning experience to do for your first time as well, especially in Thailand where nothing happens fast. And then, you know, the idea behind the business model was that we would hire a manager and they would essentially help grow the location and build a team. Again, very naive of us to do that. And so that was the model that we went for. And throughout that process, it became more and more apparent that I had zero experience in anything to do with even just financial allocation, where we had to place our budgeting, what the investment was going to be. You know, we overcapitalized, and it ended up failing. But it was a good learning curve, you know. And the big takeaway from that was I got to understand what, essentially, it sounds cliche, what didn't work, and I got to understand really the mechanics of what it takes to build something from the ground up, and what not to do, and what model actually works when you're starting something from scratch and thinking that not being an owner operator and having all of the weight rely on the manager to actually grow the company is just not a great model. So long story short, once I realized that was failing, and I realized it wasn't going to be enough to even remotely get me off the oil rigs, I was like, okay, fuck, I've got to get off these rigs. If I continue doing this job, I'm going to go insane, or I'm going to get seriously hurt or killed, right? And so I was like, what's the next step? And at the time, F-45, this is 2015, I believe, when we looked into this. At the time, F-45 was absolutely exploding in Australia. And they did a great job in Sydney, and they were expanding, and they had a lot of the professional athletes on board there when they were basically handing out franchises to a lot of the football players in order to scale. They were doing a really good job. And
what's F-45 for our audience? I'm not, you know, so if you want to.
So for those that aren't familiar, F-45 is a group training franchise that really kind of pioneered the vertical out of Australia. And they did a phenomenal job over the last 10 years and ended up coming over to the US and accomplishing an IPO on the S&P 500.
It's basically you do workouts that are up on the screens, or exercises that are up on the screens, and it's a 45-minute workout, right? I've gone a couple of times, and you move through a room. So you move through a circuit, but you move in a very particular way through the room. I loved it. I thought it was really great. Unfortunately, the closest gym to me is about 35 minutes away, so it didn't make sense. But yeah, it's a fantastic workout, and 45 minutes in and out. So
yeah, and that's where they really what they really capitalized on was the 45-minute, right? Because they started in the middle of Sydney CBD, very corporate, and their idea was to allow corporate executives to come in even on their lunch break and get a really good 45-minute workout. So it was designed for the busy professional, and it just worked. It worked really well. It was all functional movements, so there's no Olympic lifting, no big compound lifts either. And the idea behind the workout on the screens with the actual individual doing the movements just made it so much more seamless, because you didn't have the confusion of what you were meant to be doing or how the movement was meant to be done correctly at the station when you got to it. Because when you're moving at that pace, right, and it's a high intensity workout, you know, there's a lot of confusion that kind of happens with the clients inside the classroom. And so those TVs, they really kind of pioneered that TV technology as well. And I know a lot of other studios and companies use it now, but they changed the way that the classes flowed, and they made it much more seamless for the member experience as well, which was a big part of their success. And so back to...
So you grasped on the F-45.
Yeah. So I saw F-45. It was absolutely blowing up in Australia, and I looked at the marketplace, and now Evan, who ended up being my business partner, who was my best mate, who was living there as well, he had just opened a cafe, which catered to all of the members' training and nutrition and dietary restrictions and recommendations that they were making and meal plans at the gym that they were training at. And my initial thought was, this concept is phenomenal. They were doing really well. And this was in Thailand, by the way. And I thought, what if we partnered with F45 and we put one of these nutritional restaurants next to every franchise in the country? And like, we would be able to scale a franchise model with a big partnership with a nationwide franchise would be great. I knew nothing about restaurants, of course, so I was just swinging at the fence, but I thought it was a great idea. And then
I'm seeing a pattern.
Exactly, exactly. And then I realized I knew more about fitness and training, and actually had some great connections to the F45 CEOs and HQ, and so I thought, why not open an F45? And
they're in Thailand.
Pardon?
In Thailand initially? Was the
not necessarily in Thailand, and this is where the story takes a wild turn, essentially. Yeah. So we once we decided, we looked at, okay, let's potentially open an F45 training franchise. My thought process was that I didn't want to open a gym in my backyard. I thought anyone can do that, right? I wasn't really interested in going home. Australia is always going to be there. I wanted to pursue something that was going to absolutely change my life.
Yeah.
And I was having so much fun living in Thailand. It's an amazing place to live, but it's also not real life, mate. It's island life. Like, it's just, the pace there is holidaymaker pace, right? And if you really want to build a life and be successful and and network that you can leverage and build something of impact, it's not going to be the spot to do that. So we looked at the potential areas that we could go, and basically, because of the infancy of the franchise at the time, the whole world was open to us where we could go. And it was just a matter of where we felt like we had the most leverage and where we could actually set up and create a life. And so I had a conversation with Evan at the time, and I just said, look, I've lived all over the world. At that time, I had lived in Europe, all through Southeast Asia, Australia, but I had never been to the US. And he said, California, mate. California is the spot. And I'd always had a fascination with the US in terms of potentially living here one day, and was more New York, but California was definitely more my lifestyle. And, once we looked into California, we also started looking into locations like Dubai, because it was 75% expats at the time, and also tax-free US. And so once we decided we were actually going to pull the trigger, we couldn't make the decision on where we wanted to go. And this is a great takeaway for decision making for the audience as well, and to understand what your process is in that sense. And I am a very kind of active decision maker in the sense that I need to get space, and I need to train and push my body and get to fatigue in a way where I am dropping into flow state and not really thinking about anything else. And that helps me get clarity on the, what's the word I'm looking for? Really on the systematic approach to the decision and what the pros and cons are. So on the principles of the decision, really. And so I remember this moment, again, another pinpoint moment, but I was in my villa and it was Christmas morning. It was 3 a.m. And for weeks I couldn't sleep because this was a big life-changing moment and we were trying to make this decision and I was excited and I was nervous. And I just went, mate, I need to make this fucking decision. So I got up, jumped on my little scooter and rode down to this beach, and it's called Naihan Beach. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. And I just said to myself, I said, I'm going to run up and down this beach. I'm going to cut laps of this beach. I don't care if it takes me 6 hours until I make the decision on where we're going to go, because we had some great opportunities for a few different locations. And I was running up and down that beach. Moon was up. It was beautiful, and it just hit me. It hit me, and I was like, California is more lifestyle. And I lifestyle is more important to me than just dollars and cents. And the Dubai move that we were looking at was purely dollars and cents. And so that was really the pinpoint. And one of the main reasons that I'm also such a lifestyle entrepreneur, and that I put lifestyle before money, and I put lifestyle before success, which obviously, that helps generate the success in the long run as well. And so that was one of those really pinpoint moments. And from there, it just steamrolled, and we came to the US in February 2016. It's actually 8 years in 9 days, I believe, that we've been here, which it's been an amazing journey. But I had never been to the US before either. So I just packed up, moved to the US. I hadn't been here before. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know a coffee shop name or a hairdresser, or I had no contacts here whatsoever. And F45 was still in Australia, so all HQ and everything was over there. So we were flying completely blind coming over here. And it was the belief system that I had built in myself, that I have the capability of learning what exactly is required for me to be successful at any endeavor, and the belief in myself that I understand that I have a high level of resilience. And that level of resilience is going to allow me to persevere through all the shit that comes with that entrepreneurial journey that I was embarking on. And it made it a lot easier, don't get me wrong, because my business partner had exactly the same mindset. And there was never one moment where we each thought to each other or into ourselves that, hey, is he all in or not? It was an all-in mentality from the get-go. And the crazy thing about entrepreneurship, and any of the listeners that are listening that are going through this journey in themselves, is it's like, you need to give yourself grace, because you have the audacity, so to speak, right, to leave the comfort and certainty of job security, of home security, of salary, right, of your financial security, for a vision or a dream and a mission. And it's just an idea. And then you build a plan, and then you have to go and execute on that plan. You have to then go and convince other people to leave their security, to leave their safety of their financial position as well, or of their employment position, of their home position, to come with you on that journey and to help you build that vision. And then you have to build that vision to a specific capacity. And then you have to go out and convince people to give you more money and grow that vision. And if you look at it like that, it sounds crazy, right? It sounds nuts. And I think it's for me, it's like, even when I talk about it, it's like, I love that, man. I think that's special. And if you're an individual that can jump off the cliff and take that leap and actually do that, then hats off to you, because a lot of people can't, and they prefer the safety. And so when you're going through all of the hard times and the shit that I call it, give yourself grace, because it is hard. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what vertical you're in, whether you're building the next tech platform or you're building a gym. It is hard. From day one, it is hard. But the biggest mindset shift you need to make is, how can you change your perspective on what hard is, right? And going through the last 8 years of my entrepreneurial journey, like, I don't have enough time to talk to you boys today about all of the obstacles and the mountains and the setbacks, that we've experienced and that I've experienced, and the breakdowns, right? The mental breakdowns, the adversity, and but but going through all that, every time I go, I say to myself, fuck, why is this so hard? Every time I say to myself, I catch myself and I remember that if it wasn't hard and if I had not been through everything I've been through, I would not be who I am today. And there would be no value in the journey anyway.
Right.
And that one takeaway can shift your perspective instead of going, oh, great, this is another bottleneck. It's another issue. It's like, look at every obstacle or every mountain or issue or piece of adversity as an opportunity to sharpen your sword. Because if you had none of those opportunities, you would not be as strategically intelligent, you would not be as smart, you would not be as experienced. And as I said, there'd be no value in the journey, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. You're making this very easy for us, Luke. Like we have our notes here, and we have all these questions, and I'm just checking them off. It's almost as though you're reading our notes. I'm like, okay, we don't have to ask that. We don't have to ask this. But in speaking about doing something that's hard, nothing that was ever worth a damn is easy. And I just read Arnold Schwarzenegger's book. Shoot,
Be Useful.
Be Useful. Thank you. And he talks about how, making money is when you can enjoy money. The people who just have money, they don't enjoy it. Like you look at the folks who have just been given money from either their parents and they've inherited it, or they won the lottery. They may have been happy initially, but they don't feel like they actually accomplished anything. And that sense of fulfillment, like you were just talking about, we can get a sense of fulfillment by doing hard things, but also in choosing our hard. I have a friend who says, "Choose your hard before your hard chooses you." Because eventually, if you don't do something hard is going to come at you. But I love everything that you've been talking about, and I want to talk quickly about leadership and its role specifically in entrepreneurship. A lot of people think, oh, you're an entrepreneur, that doesn't make you a leader, but that's definitely not true. You have to be a leader to be an entrepreneur. How has leadership played a role in your entrepreneurship? And then how has your approach to leadership evolved through your experiences, especially coming back to this hard piece, especially when facing challenging situations?
That is a great question. I think you're completely on point by just noting the fact that just because you hold a certain position within a company does not make you a leader whatsoever. I've worked with a lot of people that don't have any leadership skills, who are C-suite executives and are very intelligent, but they're just lacking in the leadership. And I was one of those people. So I had multiple locations. I think maybe we had 2 locations at this time, and I had 20 employees-ish and a number of business partners, and I was essentially the CEO of the portfolio at the time. And that's because I had the leadership skills to a degree, but we were going through a lot of employees, a lot of coaches, and there's in the group training industry, coaches can essentially are a dime a dozen. They can go anywhere because the concept of group training is very similar everywhere. It's just about learning that specific system, the structures, and how the company operates, and how the membership operates, and how the actual workout is programmed at each location. And so there's a lot of opportunity for group training coaches, right? And so it's very hard to keep employees in this industry. And most companies, most brands and studios are a revolving door. And ours was becoming a revolving door. And I remember just thinking, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And I used to have the conversations with a coach at the time who was a leadership coach, and she was a friend of mine. And she was like, I don't think you have a people problem. She just said, I think you have a leadership problem. And that really hit me, because, and then I started to look at the way that I was reacting to situations and how reactive I was actually being with my business partners. Because a lot of and I felt like this at the time, because a lot of the weight and the responsibility was on me for the operations, right, and the success. And I looked at how reactive I was being, and then that was also trickling down into my relationships outside of work, right, and then also my relationships with my relationship with my partner, my girlfriend at the time. And I saw what it was doing to all of my relationships, my business in itself, and I knew that I had to make a change with the way that I was leading, right? And I was very reactive because I was also very stressed. Like, moved to the US, I had never really run a company before, and we saw success with the first gym very fast. So, and that's a very long story, so we won't go into how that happened, but we saw success very fast, and we still had no systems, we had no training, we had no idea what we were doing, and we were improvising, building everything on the fly, and working out what didn't work very fast because it was sink or swim. Right. And when we were building that first location, we sunk every dollar that we had into that location. And we had an apartment at the time that had, and this is kind of backtracking a little bit, I'm sorry to go off topic, but it's good for the audience to get some context around why it was stressful. We had an apartment at the time that had nothing in it. Like, we had no furniture. I slept on a blow-up mattress with 2 cardboard boxes on either side as bedside tables, and a cooler at the end of the bed with a small TV that someone had given us to use for marketing for the gym. And I slept on that for 6 months. And one day I walked out. I still have the photo on my iPhone. I walked out of my room and I turned around and I was like, holy shit. I'm like, this is crazy. Look at this. This is going to be such a good memory one day. And I took a photo of my bedroom. And then I took a photo of the living room, which was empty. There was no furniture. And because we couldn't afford it, we put our bottom dollar on building the gym. And also in turn, we didn't have any operating capital either. We had $0 when we opened that gym. And we had no money for ads. We were 2 27-year-old Australians who had never been in the US before, opening a dream. And everyone in that town, because this was La Jolla, by the way, which was one of the most affluent towns in the US.
I love La Jolla.
Me too.
It is my home away from home. It's my home. I love that town. I love the community in there as well. But at the start, everyone was like, I'm telling you, was like, why are you opening another gym here? Do you know how fast gyms go out of business? And I'm telling you, there was 7 gyms on our block, on our block, Bay Avenue. But Evan and I looked at that and we thought, great, the clientele's there. We just got to be better than the rest. And that was our mentality, is like, we just have to make sure that our product, our service, our community is better than anyone's on that block. And it's stand the test of time. 7 years later, it's still sitting there. And we had no capital to actually run the company, and it was sink or swim when we opened. It was really sink or swim, and we had to sell a lot of memberships very fast in order for us to just pay rent for the lease, because we were actually 90 days behind on our rent already. But we got a little bit of grace from the landlord. And we ended up doing very well. The first month, we sold about 100 memberships. We were able to pay our rent, and then it just kind of scaled from there. But going back to the leadership component, it's good to take that context in, because I had no idea what I was doing from day one. I had never run a team. I had never had business partners before. I had never had investors. And so learning how to manage all that and manage operations for a gym specifically, it's a little different, because your business model is predicated on the one thing that you can't control in business, and that is people, right? And so the trainers are human. our community and our members are all human. And so having that uncontrollable aspect of the business model made everything a lot more difficult, so to speak. And it was as I said, it was my first time. So going through 12 months and seeing how reactive I was initially being with my business partners, some of my coaches, and then realizing that I'm the issue, that I'm the problem. And which was a big ego hit to really realize, you're young, 27 years old, you think you're successful and you're killing it because you've got a couple of companies in California. And once I realized that and I understood the impact that my energy was having on my relationships with my business partners and how that was impacting really the entire organization and how I was treating the trainers. And don't get me wrong, I had always held a container of space for all of my employees of growth. That was my number one focus in the throughout our entire journey with F45, is that I want to make sure that I am holding a container of space so that these guys can grow either with the company or go and open their own one. And as a testament to that, a lot of the trainers that worked for us now own multiple locations. And we were able to help facilitate that, which is awesome, right?
Sure.
So one thing I did great at that point. So it was more about the pivot of F45, and it was really a stepping stone into leadership. Yeah, and doing a lot of internal work and getting really granular about my self-awareness, what makes me tick, what feeds my energy, right? What reduces my energy, and how I use that energy has been a journey of self-development from day one, from when I started, but from when I understood the impact my energy had as a leader on my team, right?
Love it.
And I do it, I focus on this development component every single day. And now as an individual, because I have earned the right through working through all the shit and climbing the mountains and falling back down the mountains and leading by example and making sure that I am the hardest worker in the room. I know that's a very cliche expression, but making sure that if I'm expecting people to work hard for me, then I better show up and be the hardest worker in the room and lead by example. And going through that process now, I'm a completely different person in terms of leadership as well. And I have the experience under my belt to lead higher caliber teams, to lead executive teams, and to bring people into a vision and onto a journey that I definitely would not have been able to attract that level of talent a couple of years ago. And that's only through all of the personal development and the intentional, purposeful work that I've done to be able to get to this space. None of that happens automatically. Sure. It's all intentional, right?
Yeah, I love it, and I definitely want to talk more about that transition from being that reactive leader to where you are now a little bit later. But I want to get into how you moved from F45 into what you're doing now with Manly. So, and for our listeners, that's MNLY, all caps. So what is Manly, and how did you move from F45 to Manly, MNLY?
Yes, awesome. I'm glad we were able to touch on this. So, to start, to really anchor this home, I think it's important to understand the stats on male professional health right now in 2024, where we currently are. It's like 60% ish of adult men worldwide, not just in the US, are obese, right? You've got 13% of males that are over 21 suffer from some form of cardiovascular disease. But the big one is, look, over 52% of men experience low libido, right? And that is due to our world being full of toxic consumables, lifestyle habits, environmental factors that have collectively made the modern world the unhealthiest generation to date, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's very clear that the one-size-fits-all approach to health, not just in males, to health in general, is extremely outdated, right? And so over my 7-year span with the F45 training studios, I got to work with hundreds of individuals in their pursuit for optimal health, or a better living of a better level of well-being than they were currently experiencing. Not just in the training component, right? All of the lifestyle factors that are affecting their health and training, nutrition, protocols. And I ended up working predominantly with executives and professional men. And so through that journey, I got to understand the demands on the male professional market, right? The demands on their stress levels, the demands on their health due to their work environment, right? And due to their capacity for essentially execution, daily, day in, day out, running teams, being an executive, having a lot of the pressures of being an entrepreneurship or a high-level executive. And so I understood the demand on their system and what was really required to bring a valuable product to the marketplace that was going to help these gentlemen. As I said, the one-size-fits-all approach is broken, right? Mm-hmm. And we saw the rise of personalization. Actually, we're still seeing the rise of personalization across all industries, all sectors, products and services and verticals. But now, due to advances in tech, due to advances in AI, genetic testing, blood analysis, and because of COVID, sorry to bring it up.
No, because part of the world.
Because of COVID, an emphasis that's now on preventative healthcare. The precision health model has really taken stage and come to the market, and specifically talking about precision nutrition, precision supplementation. And it's defined as an approach that uses individual data to predict how a person will respond to specific dietary patterns, nutrient intake, or supplement recommendation, essentially. And so we saw that market opportunity to really bring a valuable product to market. And what I had done at the time with these professional men has been recommending me. I had a subscription that was actually mainly prior to the model it is now, and that I was recommending specific supplement stacks based on some data inputs from the individual, right? Based on a questionnaire where we would go through their goals and their habits and their lifestyle and their training philosophy, and would recommend a stack from some of the best products in the marketplace that myself and my team found that worked really well for us. And that model evolved, and that model then ended up evolving into what Manly is today. And, when we looked at this model and the opportunity to pioneer the men's vertical specifically, I brought on a team of experts in men's health science, data science, neuroscience, and sports nutrition to really develop a model that leverages a biological analysis, environmental analysis, clinical research, and artificial intelligence to develop precision health solutions for men at scale as well. And so the transition was natural. When we sold the locations, we got acquired by a larger private equity firm, and I went all in. I invested in a few different concepts, but I went all in on my idea. Again, throwing myself off a cliff and investing everything I have into a vision and a company and an idea that I believe in to the bottom of my heart. And again, going through that process of bringing people on that journey and convincing them to leave their security and leave their safety, and now pitching investors to fund the project as well. And it's been a very, very rocky roller coaster ride so far.
Are you sleeping on an air mattress in an apartment that has no furniture? Get all in. You said all in.
You know what? I'm actually nearly there. I'm nearly there.
Oh, wow, man.
If we continue, I will be on a air mattress in the next 3 months. I'll give you the tip.
Well, hopefully we can keep you from getting onto that air mattress, brother.
Yeah. Well, so why nutritional supplementation? Like your own kind of unique blend, or like why is it so important for men or anybody, to kind of have this supplementation of nutrition? That's like, why, like you're filling a big gap here, it sounds like, and what do people need to know about this, and why is that gap so important to fill?
Well, I think now, because of the advancements in tech and the fact that the consumer is much more aware of their biological health now, or just their overall well-being now, because of all the information and the access to information that's out there, and the amount of people that are on social media talking about it, and the amount of platforms and programs and professionals that are now providing services that help individuals at a much cheaper rate, right? And so now the conversation around biological health, because of where the technology is now, and the reduction in access from direct to consumer lab kits. So before, you had to go into a doctor's office, right? You had to get blood drawn. You would get your blood drawn. They would, call you up 2 weeks later, sometimes a month later, and read your results and not really give you any action items towards those results, right? They'd probably most of the time just say, yeah, you're about average. Everything looks good.
Yeah. Low normal.
What's normal? What's optimal? What's suboptimal? What does that all mean, right? And looking at the issue with that again is the one size fits all. It's like not every individual fits into that category, right? Or that demographic that has the same reading as average or optimal. You can't compare, an athlete to your everyday individual. Their average is completely different. Their optimal is completely different, right? So you need to have specific weighted scoring for those. And when you're looking at implementing anything into your life, where if to try and improve your personal and professional performance on a scale that is going to actually make a difference, understanding our biological health is the first step. You don't have to understand, every single biomarker in your body, but understanding a baseline for your biology, where your baseline is the first step. Once you have that data, then you can go and implement lifestyle changes, supplement protocols, nutrition protocols, right? And programming to improve those results over time, because otherwise you're just flying blind and you're guessing what's working, because what might work for my body might have the complete adverse effect in your body. Right. Whatever your predispositions are may be different in mine, right? Because all our genetic makeup is different. And so the value in understanding your biological baseline is essentially invaluable, because that's when you can start to improve. And once you have that baseline, improvement is essentially the only way you can improve is by implementing specific protocols or supplement nutritional programming that is unique to your biology or to your environmental health as well. And so that's why this marketplace is becoming such a big marketplace. And that's why a lot of individuals, doesn't matter whether they're executives, professionals, just everyday men or athletes, are looking for a more tailored approach, because the consumer is much more aware and they understand that the one-size-fits-all model is actually broken.
Yeah. And we also have the ability now to actually go deep. We understand more of the hormones in the body, more of like the analysis of the blood, and then we can actually, take that information and then begin to, add supplements in order to change the outcome. And it's like it's a new time. I mean, it's really exciting right now with mindfulness, what you're doing, because it's like people are now hip to it. And now we have the science that's matching, and the technology that's kind of matching our ability to make a significant shift, within the individual and as like a mass, as a population, because of this new awareness and the new ability we have to, because of the science and the technology and the measurements that are out there. So it's like, I'm so glad that you're blowing up, because we definitely need healthier minds and healthier bodies out there, because like you mentioned, the obesity rate just really talks to the incredible tackle, the lack of health in our community. And what does that lack of health do? It leads to more depression. It leads to more lethargy. It leads to more binge watching, more anger, more frustration. All the things
longevity.
that kind of decreases longevity. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's it destroys relationships. It's it decreases creativity. We're not even being as innovative as we possibly can in 2024. So I love hearing all this. I mean, it's this is what's needed. It's thank you for filling this gap. I
appreciate that. It's important to note that the only solution forward, in my opinion, and definitely the market's opinion as well, is it's evidence-based solutions, right? And so looking at the way that Manly's positioning itself and the way that we're programming these solutions and serving the consumer and serving our members is we're evidence-based. So no matter how you feel, whether you feel better or not, technically, obviously that's the goal, but is irrelevant, right? So if your blood work shows there is improvements in your biology from specific nutrition protocols, from lifestyle protocols, from specific micronutrients, aminos, vitamins, minerals, herbs and extracts, and if your blood work is showing a positive, they're having a positive effect on your blood work, how can you stop using that product, and how could you stop using a program that is evidence-based, right? And why would you go back to using something that does not have that evidence-based component built in, right? And so allowing the consumers and our members to actually track that data is paramount for us, right? And seeing those results firsthand is exactly what we're about.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, is there going to be with Manly, is there going to be an equivalent for women? I assume that tailored nutrition is just as important for women as it is for men. Do you have a vision of starting a womenly or something similar?
Yeah. Look, there's no doubt that that the market is there for women as well, and it's definitely just as important. There's actually a few concepts on the market for women that do serve them in a very similar fashion. I've been asked this on every podcast and every conversation and with every strategic partnership we've done. And look, there is an opportunity for us to do that in the future, and when I built our science board and our leadership team, I built it with experts that understand male biology very specifically, and that understand the opportunity to and the gap in the male market as well. And so our focus for definitely at least the next 4 to 5 years will be on the male model only, but there is an opportunity for us to pivot in the future and do both. But right now, we're really focused on men.
I like it, and men is the center of the word supplementation. So
there you go.
Well done, Don. Well done.
I just looked down there, I saw it, couldn't miss it.
But it's about offering a unique approach, right? It's about offering a unique approach to optimal health that isn't necessarily out there yet. We understand that good nutrition and good supplementation are going to help our biology, but looking at it from a biohacking standpoint as well, with some of the lifestyle protocols that we're offering and that we're recommending, it's looking at how to reduce anxiety, looking at how to improve libido, looking at how to improves focus, confidence, stamina, mood, and sleep and recovery, and how we can do that from a lifestyle standpoint and not just a nutritional or a supplementational standpoint. And providing the data on that with daily tracking as well, which is quite unique.
Yeah, and Will and I are big data nerds. We're both wear our trackers. We track our heart rate variability. I track all my nutrition now. I track my sleep. I mean, the reason you and I are even talking is because I went to school with Aaron Burciaga at the Naval Academy, and he's a data scientist, and I know he's on your board, and he introduced me to you, and he's like, look what we're doing with data science. We're changing nutrition. I was like, fantastic. I got to find out more about this. So I love this. I want to come back to the reactive piece that you talked about earlier, because the show is Men Talking Mindfulness.
Yes.
And a lot of what we talk about with mindfulness is that quite often it can change the reaction into a response. Have you ever personally used any form of mindfulness or meditation? I know you talked about a yoga studio earlier. I'm assuming with that you are a practitioner of some sort. What's your experience with mindfulness and or meditation, and what's your thought about it? Thoughts?
Yeah. So it was actually at the same moment when I realized how reactive I was, that I needed to actually start a meditation practice. And so I was actually in Bali when I started meditating. It sounds a bit cliche, but
that's beautiful. I wish I was in Bali when I started.
I knew that I needed it, and I knew that I needed it. I needed something to be able to center myself and become much more self-aware than I was if I wanted to be the individual that I was striving to be. And so it was very straightforward for me. I found an app that's very mainstream now. It's called Headspace.
Yeah.
And that was my gateway into meditation. And I've meditated, probably 300 of 365 days every year since. And I make sure that the practice is embedded in my morning routine. Beautiful. I also used to be one of the big, long kind of morning routine guys for a while, which definitely allowed me to become more awareness and center my energy and allow me to allocate my energy specifically throughout the day and control it more. But, as I've shifted and I understand more of a process and on how to make progress and execution, and I become more productive and more seasoned, I suppose, I still add that element of mindfulness into my daily morning routine. It's a lot shorter, but I like to use breath work more. And I love to use breath work. It helps me regulate my parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, and it reduces that fight or flight. And, to any guys out there, and I'm sure you guys can level with me right now being entrepreneurs as well, but I went from being a very confident young man to not riddled with anxiety, but suffering from anxiety. I still suffer from it today. And it's due to the immense amount of pressures and stresses and uncertainties and the multiple projects and sometimes not so much clarity, but just the amount of pressure that is on yourself as an entrepreneur, right?
Sure.
And when you're trying to build something that's disruptive and again, leaving that comfort and safety, anxiety has crept into my life year over year over year. And breath work for me specifically has been a huge component of me allowing me to learn how to control that anxiety. Good and learning how to control, as I said, that parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, and not only breath work, but contrast therapy, right? Yeah. Cold plunges, I know they're mainstream now and everyone's talking about them.
There's a reason.
For a very good reason, right? And again, being able to control that nervous system and reduce anxiety and spike dopamine and things like that. It's been something that I've added into my routine every single day as well.
For sure. I took a cold shower this morning. I'm betting Will probably did the same thing. We're big
just before the show. Yeah. Just before the show. You said a couple times, and just to kind of really sink into your point here. You mentioned like one thing that really brought me to where I am was one quote, or helped me. And John, you mentioned something the other day. You said, what'd you say? Launch,
learn, adjust.
Launch, learn, adjust, right? What helped me, another way that I say that, or I've read it years ago, is leap and then that will appear, right? And that's kind of the entrepreneurial spirit. You just go, right? And there's a lot of anxiety when you're falling and you don't know, you're trying to climb on the walls, you don't know what's happening, and it's like everything is like, so there is a lot of stress. And that's just that's just the entrepreneurial way. And if you're not if you don't have that stress, then you're probably not going far enough. You're probably not challenging yourself. You probably don't have a big enough vision.
100%.
Right. And that stress is what helps to drive you. Right. But then what's so great about what you're saying about meditation and mindfulness and breath work and self-regulating and self-mastering is this ability to take that anxiety right? Take that all this like, oh my God, the world's falling apart. I'm falling. I don't know where the hell I'm going to land, but accessing that vision and living in that vision instead of living in the anxiety. And that's that's the gap right there, if you will, that from like taking all that entrepreneurial spirit, matching that vision, and in between, it could be a lot of stress. It could be a lot of anxiety, which is going to take you way out of the game. Or, right, meditate, breathe, cold shower, self-regulate, have your morning routine every day so you can continually ground into that vision and know how you need to show up in order to get there. And that's this is kind of the rush of being an entrepreneur. It's like, what's going to happen today? Or it's like, what's going to happen this month? What are my numbers going to be? Right. You know what I mean?
It's a rush.
Like, it's real. It's a rush. It's exciting. And the rush can be like, oh my God, like really consuming sometimes. But then also, and I'm sure like what I'm hearing you're speaking, Luke, of is like, you're surrounding yourself with great people. Because you can come back and reflect, and you can you have a team. John and I have a great relationship. We have another, David out there that we work with. And we have other people that help us to grow what we're doing, but also to help ground us as well, which is super important. And realize it's just way too far out of our vision, or do we need to just take a step back and move forward in this direction? So there is definitely a big rush with it. But
yeah, I think just to jump in there as well is I think no matter where you are, or no matter your position in life, you need a process, right? And which is a measurable, systematic approach to progress, to making progress. If you have a process, the anxiety is lifted slightly because you can understand, you have clarity on where you're going, right? And I developed a process for myself called the Reflect and Project, right? And it's a blend of, and this is great for anyone listening who doesn't have a process, right? But it's a blend of, in my opinion, the most powerful structure for accomplishing goals and objectives. And that was developed by Andy Grove at Intel, and then he implemented them in Google. And they're used widely across a number of Fortune 500 companies now. It's called OKRs, which is objectives and key results. But the second component of that system I actually took for, I'm sure you guys are familiar with his work, Stephen Kotler.
Oh, yeah, he's been on the show.
We had him on the show. Yeah, we've interviewed him.
Amazing. Yeah, I love his work on flow.
Yeah.
And so for anyone that's listening, go and read his book, The Art of Impossible. It's a blueprint.
I've actually got it on a shelf behind me. Art of the Impossible.
Perfect. It's a blueprint for accessing flow. I've gifted that book to hundreds of people. I actually got a few hundred copies from Stephen before it launched.
Nice.
But the goal setting framework is in it. There's a great goal setting framework in it. And so I took both of these frameworks, OKRs and Stephen Kotler's, and developed this Reflect and Project process. But I've used this for the last 5 years, but it provides complete transparency, clarity, and then also radical accountability. Right. And it's essentially designed to hardwire your brain for accomplishment, which then drives up confidence through daily action, which then also drives obviously progress, which drives fulfillment, which drives confidence, which drives more action. And then it's a cycle.
Right.
And I essentially, just to give the audience a more of a context and idea of how I do it so they can go and take it for themselves if they want to. But I basically I complete this document every single morning at 5 a.m. every morning. I ask myself what my wins were, what I can improve on, what I'm excited about, what I can improve on personally, then what I can improve on professionally, what I'm excited about, and how I'm going to show up. Mm-hmm. And those questions are essentially designed to reflect, but they're also designed to produce a little hit of dopamine.
Sure.
And so each time I answer them, I get a little hit of dopamine, which is hardwiring my brain for more dopamine, right? And so once I've done that component, I go into the project. So I look at the objectives that I've set for the week using my OKRs for the quarter. And I develop a list of clear goals for each objective every single day. And every time I tick off one of those clear goals, I get another hit of dopamine. Right. And so what does my brain do? It wants more. So I'm hardwiring my brain for accomplishment. So I tick off another one and another one and another one. And I make sure that no matter what, when I put something on that clear goals list, everything gets done. No matter how long it takes me, everything gets done, because then I'm building internal confidence with myself that I'm being congruent and keeping the commitments that I make to myself.
Nice.
And then over time, that confidence grows exponentially. And then you have a system for accomplishment, you know, and you know that if I'm ticking off these clear goals daily, they're working towards my weekly objectives, which is working towards my monthly OKRs and my quarterly OKRs, which at the end of the day, eventually, in only a matter of time, I will accomplish the big milestones that I've set out.
That's right.
But what people do instead, and what a lot of entrepreneurs do, which gives them a lot of anxiety, right, is they look at the big, bold, audacious goal that they have, and they look at that every day and they set their objectives or however they do it off that big, bold goal. It's like you need to break it down so it's manageable and so that you can build small wins every single day. And by doing that, for a lot of you guys that are probably out there that deal with anxiety as an entrepreneur or as a man, it's like those small wins every day, those 1%ers compounding over a period of time will change the way you execute, the way you carry yourself, the confidence that you have in how you carry yourself, the confidence you have in accomplishing these goals, and they will hardwire your brain for radical accountability. So every day you will hold yourself accountable because your brain is wired to get more dopamine from the hits of ticking those off every day. And I've done that for 5 years straight, and I'm telling you, I rarely miss a day.
That's awesome. And good for you. Good for you. That is right in line with everything that we talk about on the show. I love it, man.
We built a new habit. Like, I mean, I just say, like, so every night before I go to bed, I put on my calendar what exactly I'm going to do the next day.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, and it's just like, little blocks of time. And just by doing that, like, I sleep better. Like, well, number one, my brain is uploading into the following day. So my mind might be able to process maybe what's going to happen the next day. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the mind's a crazy place, but like it opens the opportunity for that to happen. And then I just, you know, like you said, when my day starts, I'm like, check as I go through the day. And I get to the end of the day, I'm like, that was awesome. What am I going to do tomorrow?
Exactly.
And I'm tied to the next thing. Yeah.
It's sorry to jump in, but it's actually like the science backs this as well, but it's actually better to do it at night, obviously, for sleep purposes and things like that. I just found from consistency, being consistent at it, first thing in the morning was the best time for me. And everyone's got their own process, and how you kind of implement that is going to be what works best for you, essentially.
Yeah, I do a little bit of both. One is, you know, the morning routine is planning for the day, and, you know, and then the end of the day is reflecting on the day and reflecting on the wins. And it's actually, I use a guided journal. It's called the Panda Planner. And I know that sounds crazy, but the Panda Planner has all those prompts in it. You know, what are your big wins? What are your goals personally, professionally? With your family, with your friends, what's your passion project? And every week I say, improve the podcast is my passion project. And you know, having you on the show is one of the ways to improve the show. So, hey, Luke, it's been awesome having you here. I want to give you an opportunity to, you know, put your plug out there for your social media. If people are looking to find out more about you or about Manly, how can they do that?
Yeah, you can jump on IG. That's kind of where I'm mostly active. It's at Luke_Hartelust. And then for those of you guys that are interested in a tailored solution for optimal health, you can check us out at GetMNLY. We've actually just launched our waitlist, so if you guys are interested in actually checking out the product, being one of the first to experience it,
I've already ordered it myself.
Well. So I know the boys on the podcast are ready to roll. So
me too.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, gentlemen. It's been a great conversation.
Been fantastic.
Yeah, well, thank you, Luke.
Like we did at the beginning, we started off with a practice, and we like to bookend the show with a practice at the end as well. But that said, I know sometimes we lose some of our listeners and our viewers. I just want to say thank you to Luke, and I also want to say thank you to our viewers and our listeners for those who tuned in and got something out of the show. We didn't really anticipate going as deep into the entrepreneurial journey, but a lot of our viewers come from LinkedIn. A lot of them are entrepreneurs. So So it's fantastic content. So Luke, thank you so much for sharing that. If you got something out of the show as an entrepreneur, if you got something out of the show as a man looking to tailor his nutrition, or as someone who knows a man who's looking to tailor his nutrition, please share this show with anyone and everyone who you think will benefit from it. That said, I'll wrap it up with this closing practice, and we'll keep it simple. We'll do similar to what Will led at the beginning. We're just going to do 5 simple, intentional, and focused breaths. So get comfortable and safe, whatever is comfortable and safe for you. If you're listening to this or watching it while you're driving, don't watch while you're driving. But if you're listening to it while you're driving, keep your eyes open. But otherwise, I invite you to close your eyes if that feels safe to you. And let's just bring your attention very intentionally to your breath, just noticing the rise and fall of your belly and chest, not forcing anything just yet, just noticing it. And once you've tuned in, let's begin by exhaling intentionally together, exhaling all your air, holding empty at the bottom. Nice deep breath in, filling your belly, then your chest. Holding at the top and releasing. Another deep belly breath in, into your belly, into your chest. Hold at the top and release. All right, 2 more. Nice deep belly breath in. Hold and relax. One more. I may have lost count, but we're just going to go with one more. Nice deep breath in. Hold at the top. Appreciate that sense of being full, and release. And now go ahead and, like Will did at the beginning, start to bring some micro movements back in your body, wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers, maybe rolling your shoulders and your neck, and opening your eyes if you had them closed. And once again, Luke, thank you so much for being with us today, brother. It's been an absolute pleasure. Very much enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward to staying in touch and seeing where Manly goes and where you go. And love it, man. Thanks for being here.
Awesome, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Great combo.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Luke. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you walk away with some new tools and insights to guide you on your life journey. New episodes are being published every week, so please join us again for some meaningful discussion. For more information, please check out mentalkingmindfulness.com.